It's my absolute pleasure and delight to be joined by Anna from Ukraine. Once again, I won't do the big, long, rambling intro because I think everyone knows Anna by now and her tremendous work. Welcome back to the channel.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, and always happy to be with you and your community.
My first question, though, is going to be about one of your brilliant recent videos, and let's hope if people haven't seen it, they go and see it straight after this. Watch this video to the end first, though. Your fantastic conversation with Peter Pomerantsev, and indeed, very successful trip to the Lviv Media Forum. Could you give a bit of a breakdown of what that conversation, how that went, and why some of the insights from it are so incredibly important?
Thank you so much, and I'm forever grateful both to Peter Pomerantsev for what he does to speak about Ukraine, to help us destroy Russian narratives and prepare the world for the 21st century warfare, also in this psychological domain, and for Lviv Media Forum for connecting people. Though I look like a heroine of Twilight in that interview, just because of the bad lightning, we decided to prioritize Peter. But there are so many good things we discussed, and I love how he speaks about Kyiv as the center of decisions, and we may say even future in Europe and the world because of our experience, our resilience, and maybe the fact that we have already accepted this new normal, which is not normal. And I always advise people to read more of his books that I have read all, and I was very happy to discover that right now Peter is writing a new one with advice on how to live in this very difficult time. So I'm looking forward to read it. But in general, I think Peter demonstrates this objective understanding of the evolution of the Russian war in Ukraine and how, despite all the expectations, we managed to grow stronger, more militarized, and more prepared to defeat the Kremlin as like literally anyone did not expect. And right now, I think a lot of countries subconsciously rely on the defense from Ukraine. And we are prepared to do the job. We don't have a choice. And it seems like we know what to do.
That's that really, I mean, you've read my mind because that was my first question here. It seems that Ukraine is the only country prepared to not just sort of rhetorically push back against Russia, but actually take actions that are meaningful. Now, anyone who's been to Ukraine, anyone who has Ukrainian friends will know that there is something called the Ukrainian sort of bullshit censor, which is don't do things for a performative benefit, do things that actually work, that have impact, that are real. Don't waste your life and energies on things that amount to nothing. And it seems that it's only Ukraine that is taking the steps that are required to, certainly in the context of this war, contain Russia, but now actually reduce and diminish Russia and erode its power. Where does Ukraine find the will and the lack of fear to take the steps that it seems nobody else in the world is prepared to take?
Well, I think I want to think that partially it's because of our national character, our history, our identity, but of course it is also because of the understanding that comes when you live in times of the big war. We were all frightened and lost at the beginning of the full-scale invasion, but still mobilized to try and figure out what can we do. And I'm sure you remember those people volunteering to join the Ukrainian army in early March 2022. And somehow this horizontal connection support the ability to listen to each other helped us grow stronger. Also, in times of war, you understand that everything is very real, that you are living your only life, you're not preparing for it. And I believe that a lot of these comfortable societies, they still have this feeling. Even the elderly people think, when I grow up, I will become this or that. I can travel there, I can plan. In Ukraine, because of the Russian invasion, we've lost the ability to plan. And I'm grateful, Jonathan, that you never asked me about vacations, for example, because how can I plan any vacations? How can I
It's
plan?
never even occurred to me to even ask.
Yeah,
I don't know,
because
subconsciously.
We have already agreed that you are at least half Ukrainian based on this, like area, the amount of air in Ukraine that you breathed in and all the support that you gave to us. This made you Ukrainian, and we cannot plan. And when I receive invitations for an interview in July at the end of the month, I don't know where will I be. And it's very difficult, and the body develops some coping mechanisms, and you start focusing on the things you can do today, and you try to do them your best. With this kind of approach and understanding that if we do not protect our homes, if we do not learn how to intercept Russian drones, we will simply disappear while the world expresses concerns. And we are very grateful for the support. And for example, the support that we have just received from the European Union and the opening of this procedure of clusters. All of this is very important and supports people morally, but the real fight is taking place in the air, on the ground. And you see that Russian terror attacks are getting more and more active because they understand they are losing ground, they are losing Crimea, they are losing the support of the Russian population that was apolitical but slowly turns political as they experience war on their territory. So I believe that this is the understanding of war, what it can do to your home, to your city, to your family, and your natural instincts to protect it. I just hope that the world wakes up because all of these intelligence services talking about the potential invasion or attack of Russia on some NATO countries, this is not BS. This is not the way Ukrainians want to pressure you because these are not Ukrainian intelligences. These are the intelligences of Britain, of Germany speaking about this. And
Latvia,
sometimes,
Finland, the Baltics, people who
yeah,
actually
a
understand
lot.
the Russian mindset. Yeah.
Most, and not just understand the Russian mindset, but have the data and see how Russians are building military bases on the borders with the European Union for approximately 115,000 soldiers. This is not happening just for fun or training. And I do have people asking me, well, Anna, you're talking about Russian economy collapsing, problems to conscript people, and still you're saying they can attack NATO. How? You contradict yourself. No, my dear friends, I do not contradict myself because, first of all, Putin is irrational and obsessed with the desire to destroy the Western world, beginning with Ukraine, but not ending with Ukraine. And his attack on Ukraine was also crazy irrational, and we see that it leads to the collapse of his regime, to the destruction of the Russian regions and whole republics. He doesn't read that. He doesn't act accordingly to the real world. That's why he may try and attack some other countries. Plus, they've learned the lesson in 2022, and they will not send troops. They will not need people to invade a small region in the Baltics or to cause problems in Poland. They simply need to send a lot of drones or a couple of missiles to destroy energy grid, to destroy the work of airports or something like that, and watch what happens next. Will the United States react? Will Italy be prepared to back up Poland? And there are doubts right now. That's exactly Putin's mission. And by attacking a country in a hybrid way, he will then try to create chaos to lead to the, I don't know, dissolution of the European Union or cause some immigration problems and so on and so forth. Russia has a
AFD in Germany. I mean, the classic lever he can pull at this point is to damage the European economy so that Germans, who unfortunately are awash with propaganda, but also coercively fear Russia. I mean, from the very point where it was occupied during the Second World War, conquered, then occupied. I think, resistance that Ukraine has shown is not the default for European countries. The default for many will be to choose regimes that appease Russia, that will pay Russia to stop it stealing their stuff.
yes, and right now, a lot of European states, they remind, or leaderships, I should say, they remind a sleeping beauty that has a lot of power, that has a lot of money, that has a lot of possibilities to help us destroy Russia way faster and thus prevent all of these negative consequences. And they are still waiting for a miracle to happen. Today I had come across the news that made me feel sick because it was about President Obama, whom I know many people like, and I hope they will not get angry with me because he even received the Nobel Peace Prize, one of the reasons why Donald Trump wants it. But Obama was the one who did not let Ukraine act accordingly when Crimea was invaded. He was talking about this de-escalation management, and Ukraine was not given a defensive weapons, and it was all about this hushing the incident. And Georgia, the attack on Georgia, which was a very negative precedent and opened the doors for Putin's aggression against former Soviet republics. And then today, what triggered me that much was that in 2005 or something, or earlier, before becoming the US president, as the US senator, Obama visited Donetsk region and controlled the processes of the armament of Ukraine. So he was watching how Ukraine de-arms itself in accordance with Budapest Memorandum and some other agreements. And like I've heard Bill Clinton saying that they are very guilty for not supporting Ukraine, giving the guarantees, at least he's speaking about that. And a lot of people are still worshiping Obama as the greatest peacemaker, as a Nobel Peace Prize winner, when we may say that from the perspective of the former Soviet republics, he opened the door for Putin's aggression, saying, let's not escalate, let Russia do what it wants, and the rest will settle down. So this approach of observation is very dangerous, and I'm very happy that we are acting in Ukraine. What we observe today, for example, we are talking with Jonathan on a morning after Russia attacked a lot of cultural heritage sites in Ukraine, beginning with Kiev-Pecherska Lavra Cathedral, that is a symbol of Ukrainian Christianity, then Kharkiv Museum of Art, then also Mistetsky Arsenal, which is a book forum place where that I love visiting, and a cinema studio with a
Cinema
huge
studio as
collection
well, yeah. Very
of them.
famous one.
Yeah, the central one in Ukraine, I'd say number one, was a huge collection of historical costumes that were destroyed, like thousands of them. These are like all not just civilian targets, but cultural heritage sites. And this is Russia's terror. They are blind with anger. They cannot succeed on the front lines. They experience problems with defense deep inside Russia. But compare the targets we destroy, legitimate, the ones that fuel Russian war machine, and what they want to destroy is Ukrainian culture, Ukrainian identity. And this is pure terror because they are losing. This is their reaction to inability to do something. So they want to, like kill more people, cause fear and panic, make Ukrainians leave, and potentially create an immigration crisis, for example, in Europe, similar to Syrian, one that was also fueled by Russia, 100%. So I don't know why there is still no this coordinated decision that the best way to end all the problems, to prevent AfD from coming to rule in Germany, to prevent a lot of internal EU problems, a lot of American problems, a lot of Middle Eastern problems, is to defeat Russia, to destroy Putin's regime, and then all together try and help apolitical Russians develop something more or less normal, maybe even giving some freedom to other nations that are now oppressed and are suffering under Moscow.
So I know I wanted to dig into that because it seems to me you're one of the best placed people to ask this question to. And that is that for many who will look on horrified at the sort of fire at the Pechorska Lavra, for many it will be a church. A church was hit. Isn't Russia terrible? But it seems to me that there is an extraordinary amount of symbolism that every Russian speaker, everybody in the Russian Federation and in the former territories of the Soviet Union, everyone will understand that symbolism in perhaps a way those in the West will not. That this is Russia attacking the very source of its own mythology, the very source of its own idea that Kievan Rus was the origin of Russia, rather than, as we know, just the appropriated and stolen name of Muscovy. But they are attacking something that is so deep in their own mythology. It is not incidental. It is not accidental. It is sending an extraordinary signal of even self-mutilation based on their own mythology, but cultural erasure, cultural genocide. It seems to me that this demands an extraordinary response from the West, that we need to understand the symbolism of what they're doing, the scorched earth policy that they have enacted here. Because if the West does not give a clear signal, and that signal cannot be rhetorical, it has to be a full kinetic response to Russia, whether it be taking down their grey fleet, whether it be providing extraordinary classes and quantities of munitions to Ukraine. If we do not provide an appropriate response, Russia will see that its attacks, and especially a symbolic attack, is not ever going to elicit a defensive posture by the West or an appropriate offensive posture. It seems if we miss the signals, we're doing something very dangerous. Could you? I know there's a lot of stuff in there. Could you unpack all of that a little bit?
Well, I think there will be an answer, and President Zelensky said there will be an answer, and I feel satisfied that right now we don't need a permission or we don't need to beg for a permission to defend ourselves. I'm not sure that there will be a joint reaction. And, in the morning I saw one collage that looked very eloquent. It was the photo of the burning Ukrainian cathedral after a Russian attack of Kupiansk Lavra, and a photo of a cage and wrestlers fighting in front of the White House in the United States. And it didn't look normal. I mean, there's people in the cages, and we all remember how Trump said that Zelensky disrespected the White House but not wearing a costume. So I'm sorry, all that happens now around the White House is a very vivid demonstration of disrespect and like absence of taste at all. And I'm almost sure there will be no proper and adequate, like relevant reaction to this Russian strike on all of the Ukrainian cultural heritage sites. And in Kharkiv, for example, they hit museum, and then they made a double tap, which is a war crime, killing 5 rescuers who were saving people at that moment, killing them. And I'm sure that no one will take it that seriously as it should. And Russia knows this. Russia knows there will be no answer from the White House. Rubio keeps congratulating them with the Russia Day. But they canceled the celebration of the Russia Day in Moscow. And you know why? Because they fear the Ukrainian drones. And I think that with each day, more and more institutions are dying out. We observe their fall. Well, a lot of democratic countries, unfortunately, demonstrate weakness and express concerns. But with each day, more and more people in Russia understand that justice will be delivered and they see it. Again, they are lucky that Ukrainians are following the rules of war. And it's first of all because of our morale, because we are Christians, and second, because we know it doesn't save you target bedrooms or kindergartens or destroying cathedrals. It's not the way to.
Or even the Kremlin, as lovely as it would be to see the walls of the Kremlin burn, it's not going to add to
Yeah,
strategic victory.
yeah. So you have to prioritize. And when we create a gasoline crisis, and you know how army needs gasoline, it's first of all for the Russian army a problem. Then when we cut down logistics to the Crimea, when we destroy arsenals of Iskander missiles, when we destroy Russian Black Sea Fleet and now reach the Baltic Fleet in St. Petersburg, when we ruin Putin's image during the economic forum, and even those bloody investors who considered the option escape from Russia, understanding that the system lost control. This is what is important. And good that after 4.5 years of war, we are stronger. We are able to reach deep inside the Russian rear. And I think that like it would be easier and faster to do it together. But maybe you have to have the Ukrainian experience, the understanding of our history to act accordingly. Because, as you've mentioned, Russia speaks about Kyiv being its mother, and that's how Russians treat the hypothetical mother, everything you need to know about them. But also, it's super important to understand that it's not the first time that Kyiv-Pechersk Uspensky Cathedral was attacked. The first attack was during Tatar-Mongol Horde invasion in the 13th century. And Russians are heirs of that Horde style behavior and hierarchy and the way they treat human life and the way they treat the hierarchy. And then it was in 1941 when Soviets blown the cathedral up in their retreat from Kyiv. They destroyed Khreshchatyk. Sometimes, like, we are talking about the great heroism of the Ukrainian people defending Europe from the fascist and Nazi invaders, but Russians also used this as an opportunity to destroy more of the Ukrainian cultural heritage. There was no need to destroy all of Khreshchatyk Street old buildings, but they did it, same as they blown up a lot of cathedrals, showing like this scorched earth policy that they are giving nothing to the Nazis. And it's not the first time. It is the heirs of those Tatar-Mongol invaders, of those communists destroying Ukrainian cathedrals, and the understanding that you cannot postpone this war, you cannot silence this war, you cannot appease Putin for a certain moment of time, hoping he will not return. There will be another Putin. Russians keep producing such monsters at a very high pace. And like the good thing is that they now understand the justice will reach them, just as look at how many Russian generals and top military officials, FSB officials, we are able to neutralize in Moscow, in their most protected, richest suburbs. They are in full panic mode, and Putin says about the need to guarantee protection, and they keep failing. So, with their lies, with their hatred, they're getting weaker with each second. And we have a strategy.
And it also seems extraordinary to me, not extraordinary, in fact, because Trump and those he surrounds himself with have a demonstrable track record of backing losers. But here you had Marco Rubio, who is an endless disappointment, I think, to anyone who ever placed any hope in him. He congratulated Russia on Russia Day. He congratulated a genocidal, monstrous empire that is slaughtering its neighbors and slaughtering its own people without any care as well. He congratulated them on Russia Day. He wished them, a prosperous future. The optics of this is so unbelievably grotesque. And yet, I think the irony here is that they've backed a loser. And it's becoming more and more apparent, even to those who really weren't paying attention or who were cynical or for whatever reason, backed Russia, either mentally or whatever. It's quite clear that Russia is the loser and will be the loser. And Ukraine is progressing towards a point where it will be undeniable. And yet the Trump administration still seems intent on backing that loser.
Well, Trump traditionally backs losers. He keeps saying that he loves surrounding himself with losers. This is a direct quote. I think it tells us everything we need to know about JD Vance and Marco Rubio. And recently I've read one article by a very renowned neurosurgeon. I don't remember his surname right now, maybe Henry Marsh or
Henry
something.
Marsh, yeah, I've met him. Lovely, lovely chap. He lives down the
Uh,
road from me, by the way.
Greetings to him now. And he was talking about this like Trump having a full narcissist spectrum and this, I don't know what's English for mania velitia, when he has this mania of being
Oh,
like
yeah.
the coolest and the greatest. And he said, like, yes, but people, you've let him become the US president. And actually, if you are the president of the United States, you are a very successful and influential person. So the problem is not the Trump situation. The problem is people around him. The problem is people who keep repeating his BS, who are not looking at him as a weird man that keeps passing cognitive tests. Come on. The number of cognitive tests that he passed during this year is concerning. It means that there are some problems because you do not pass that many cognitive tests normally. And
You
he
do
is
not
talking
sit that many, let alone, yes,
complete that many. Come
absolutely.
on, what's Sleepy Joe if we have like Sleepy Donnie? And uh, but okay, like we all may have a crazy relative, right? Who lost the touch with reality, who keeps offending people, I don't know, on various meetings. But the task is not to make that relative a president or not to make that relative the head of the family and the decision maker for all the youngsters, where, what university to enter, whom to marry, and so on and so forth. And the problem is that around Putin there are, and Putin too, by the way.
I was gonna make that comparison as well. You know, you
Yeah,
can,
but around Putin and around Trump, there are a lot of people. And I'm sure that like Marco Rubio can pass cognitive tests. He's okay with the understanding, but he's not okay with shifting his opinions that quickly. And I think that after Donald Trump is passed, when Donald Trump is passed of the world, such people like who saw his irrationality, who saw his very harmful for the United States decisions, his betrayal of traditional allies, should be taken into consideration because, okay, he may have cognitive problems, but they don't. And they made him stronger. They supported him. They did not tell him, whoa, no, just like normal supporters, friends, and even subordinates do. So that is the problem of our community right now, that those around keep supporting the myth. And it traditionally destroys the system. And that's exactly what we observe now in Russia. And yesterday, President Zelensky shared the information that Putin receives his kind of information, his kind of infographics prepared by his closest people. And of course, according to this infographics, he is winning all the way. But it's not true. And the consequences are now very visible in the federal budget and in dozens of the Russian regions. And the fact they are stealing the truth, they are hiding the reality, that's the problem. And that is something that later destroys the system itself. So by choosing to lie, to appease, to satisfy, to worship your non-normal leader, you actually speed up the collapse of your own system. And that's what we observe both, I think, in Russia and unfortunately in the White House. And I always see the difference between the United States of America and the White House now. The American people who are amazing and who keep supporting Ukraine and suffering greatly right now also. And a bunch of people like Hexet, like JD Vance, and others. And by the way, this community is falling apart too quickly.
it's enablement, isn't it? Unfortunately, well, one has some hope that the US has enough people who do not think like that, who do not act like that in that extremely hierarchical, extremely punitive kind of fashion. The challenge here, I think, is that is how not just the Russian system is built, that is how individuals are shaped, manipulated, programmed from birth over generations to, as soon as that system sort of nominally collapses, it's kind of programmed into people to rebuild that exact same system in the belief that it brings some security, even though the evidence suggests the absolute opposite is the case. Now let's end with Ukraine rather than, terror Russia, the swamp empire. Ukraine has a strategy which you've mentioned a couple of times. Do you think this strategy is built on a very clear understanding of how not only hierarchical power works in Russia, but also the failings of the army, the failings of logistics, and indeed quite a clear understanding that the population will likely not rise up and revolt? Do you see Ukraine's strategy very fine-tuned to a particular understanding of how its neighbor works, an understanding that I fear many in the West still do not have?
Yes, I love watching a great Ukrainian intellectual, Portnikov, whom you once interviewed, and he
Twice in fact. I'm going to
twice
post
in
there twice, yes.
so Vitaly Portnikov says, and I fully agree with him, and like think millions of Ukrainians agree with him that um, Russia will stop this war when Russia has no resources to continue this war. No money, no weapons, no people. There is no other way. Russia is full of chauvinists. Russia does not see real condemnation from the world. Plus, it is important to understand, and it's something that the Western countries do not understand, though I hate using this Russian term. But Russians are miserable and poor, and they don't live a good life. They don't have normal vacations. They don't have normal jobs in a mess, especially those who join the army. And you all see it is true when you remember how they were stealing toilets and sneakers from the destroyed houses in Kyiv region. And these were not super rich people. This was just classical Ukrainian middle class. So this shows the level they can fall and they will be okay. They've been in that situation. So poverty, various problems, they only make them feel even smaller. They keep describing themselves as small people and they will feel even smaller, maybe drink more vodka, but nothing serious can happen. But when Russia has no resources, when its oligarchs are suffering, when they have no ability to build more drones, and when their military factories are destroyed, and I still do not understand why we were not allowed to ruin Russia's, let's say, missile production factories, when now some representatives of the White House say that Russia is a global threat because they produce a lot of missiles. So let Ukraine do the job. And I think we will, because we are developing our missiles. We're using cruise missiles, Flamingo now into Russia. But ballistics is on the way and other things. So we are very realistic. It's not about the conversation with Russia. We had tons. It's not about agreements. Putin himself confirmed the territorial integrity of Ukraine not once. Putin was
And
talking
broke
about,
every single agreement, yeah.
yeah, Putin was talking about Russia joining NATO, not just Ukraine. So we do not believe in any conversations. And I'm happy that Ukrainians cannot be intoxicated with this kind of propaganda. They do not even spread this information. They don't spread BS about biolabs in Ukraine or anything else. Russians know. They may try and make our community quarrel. They may speak about the age of conscription or the problems in the Ukrainian army. This is what they want to trigger, but they don't even spill this BS that still works in the West here in Ukraine with that information psychological campaigns. Attacks like tonight on cultural heritage. This is their psychological influence on Ukrainians. We will burn everything, we will destroy everything, you will not survive. But they know we do not believe their lies anymore. And the fact that we do not believe their lies, that we see the real Russia, helps us develop the strategy. And this strategy you see, minus 45% of tax income from oil and gas revenue. Right now, Russia spends two-thirds of its tax income on war in Ukraine, like 65% of everything. No money for salaries, no money for utilities, no money for anything. And it will start shutting down. And it will lead to serious problems with productions, with logistics. And this is where the heart of the strategy lies, to defeat and demilitarize. That's the only working peace plan. And I'm glad that we see that and we know what to do. Our task is just to keep working, to keep surviving, and to keep implementing the strategy.
If it wasn't for Ukraine, Anna, I think it would be almost unimaginable where the world would be at this point. Europe would
The
be in
plan would be
existential danger.
The plan would be to occupy Ukraine, to conscript Ukrainian men, and to go to Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Finland, and then move as more and more concerned governments would start accepting this new reality and cooperating with the new leaders.
That's right. We and people forget there's a precedent. Russia occupied half of Europe for 60 odd years, and
Plus, the
we need to
occupation
pay.
maybe not with soldiers. It may be economic control or it may be prevention of the development and the natural course of the development of the country. For example, Russia cannot reach Spain, but Russia can create a lot of problems by destroying the European Union. by interrupting trade agreements or other stuff, or by causing huge immigration. There are tons of things they can do bad for a country that is very far away without entering it on tanks.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm so glad you're around to cover this. I'm so glad Ukraine exists. It's a tragedy that it has to do this, but the Ukraine has the will and the understanding to resist Russia. We've been doing this now. We're in our fifth year of doing this, continuing to explain why the West needs to learn these lessons. And we will continue shouting about this until finally it sinks in. Anna, thank you for everything you do. Thank you for coming back on. As always, huge pleasure. I look forward to the next time.
Thank you so much for that you exist, that your community exists, and that you make all of us stronger. Дякую.
Дякую дуже. Слава Україні.
Героям слава.
Let's unpack the book, The Dark Heart of Russia, because it helps to explain how we got to this point. It's edited by me, Jonathan Fink, the creator and host of the Silicon Curtain podcast. It's published this month by Gibson Square in London and is already available for order and delivery online, though officially the PR release will coincide with the Phantom Victory Day parade in Moscow on May the 9th. 30 interviews, 30 voices selected from over 1,000 interviews that have been conducted on this channel. And the lineup that we have put into this book reads like a who's who of the people Moscow would most like to silence. Bill Browder, Garry Kasparov, Fiona Hill, General David Petraeus, Peter Pomerantsev, Luke Harding, Mark Galeotti, Keir Giles, Anders Puck-Nielsen, Alexander Etkind, Yuri Felshtinsky, General Ben Hodges, and many, many more. And with a strong set of Ukrainian voices included, it could be no other way. Volodymyr Ermolenko, Alena Holoshka, Sasha Dozhik, Olga Takaryuk, and Alexander Romantsova, among several others. And the timing is not accidental. We are releasing this book precisely as the Kremlin's central myth, the myth of Russian victory, Russian strength, Russian inevitability, is being shredded in real time. Ukraine matters, and I think this book matters, and our support for Ukraine is the only way of stopping Russian imperialism from its eternal outward expansion and the destruction that it brings in its wake.